Okay, so this is the second video that goes to what relates to EdTBA Task 2, and I'm going to go ahead and bring up the PowerPoint that I would use with the class had we been if we were meeting in person. It addresses Task 1 and Task 2. I will post it to Blackboard as well, and you can sort of follow along on your own after you watch the video and kind of go back and refer back to it. So let's go ahead to share screen. Um, where is it? Okay. All right. So first thing that I hope you see is that I have faith in you that you can do this. You guys are totally going to kill and nail EdTBA. You guys are going to get the greatest EdTBA scores in the history of EdTBA. I take a lot of pride that the secondary candidates are always really ready to go, and I know you guys are not going to let me down. So one thing is that most of you still need to take 508. That's going to be the reading and writing in the content area, secondary. It's 320 if you're an undergrad. That class will help prepare you for EdTBA as well. The instructor for it, Carrie Meehan, is awesome. Also, I've said it a million times, but I'll say it again. This is about following directions. If you follow the directions, follow the prompts closely, step by step, you'll be in good shape, okay? If you're detail-oriented about it, really be specific in your responses. There's a link here for tips for EdTBA. I went ahead and posted that link in the on Blackboard in the section that has these videos. So one thing to point out is that you want to think about all three tasks holistically. When you look at the assessment piece, what are you going to assess them at the end? How are you going to know whether or not they learned the skill or content you taught them? Again, the focus is only on the learning segment, not the whole unit. It's just those 3 days or 4 days that you are working with them, okay? Because that's what you're submitting to EdTBA. That's all they're going to use to determine. They don't care what you did 2 weeks ago. They don't care what you're going to do in a week from now. What do you do in that time? I teach them the skill. I give them chances to engage in that skill multiple different ways. Maybe there's, and then I assess their ability to do it. Maybe it's transferring. If they had to do it for writing for a particular type of poetry, maybe they then have to create a poem using that same type of genre of poetry, and that's my assessment. Did they follow the, stanza details of iambic pentameter and all that, whatever it might be, okay? So think about them holistically. If you know where you're gonna get them to go, again, backwards planning, that's going to inform what you're going to do in the beginning, and that should inform what you do in task 2 as well. Each of the tasks involves a written narrative. So read through those narratives. Really get a sense of what they might look like. We did a planning commentary already for task 1. You're going to do it for 2 and 3 as well. Okay, so task 1, here's what I plan to do. Task 2, watch me doing what I said I was planning to do. And if you use jazz hands, that will be great. And then task 3, here's what students learned because of what I did, okay? We talked about task 1, so I'm gonna skip through this already. But you'll notice the Making Good Choices document is a resource. You wanna make sure you use that. Review the rubrics, unpack the rubrics, consider what's the difference between a 3 and a 4. Do that for every single rubric. There's, I think, like 14 rubrics in all between all 3 tasks. It's all in your handbook. Okay. Remember, make sure you discuss how you will serve diverse students and those with IEPs. Use future tense with the planning. I will be doing this. I plan to do this. Once I do this, this is what I expect to occur. That's the kind of language you want to use for the planning section. In the narrative, be explicit about how you do what you claim to be doing. Okay, so if I say I am using this as an opportunity to assess their learning, how is I'm using this particular thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down strategy, okay? That might be like a quick process check. So you might want to, I forgot about this point, you might want to think about just doing an overall sketch of EdTBA, like just a blueprint of it for yourself so you can start thinking about it before you even start your planning commentary. So that's one thing I would recommend, is just have a big picture in your mind and then go back to the beginning. Again, I think we address a lot of these things already. Remember, you want to engage your students in higher order thinking. You want to show on the video, you want to plan to do it so that you'll do it in the video. Remember, if you don't plan to do it, it may not happen. So really go through, look at the Marzano and Pickering, look at the different resources from your methods class. Find a good strategy. And you remember what I talked about in terms of playing the game, okay? You kind of gotta show yourself doing the stuff that EdTPA wants to see you doing. It may not always be the best teaching, quite frankly, but don't worry about that. Just worry about giving them what they want to see. And by looking at the rubrics, that'll give you a sense of what that should look like. Okay. Let's move on here. You can come back to some of this stuff later. Oh, with learning objectives, SWBAT stands for students will be able to. It's a sort of an acronym that's very commonly used. You want to have informal and formal assessments. Remember, you're talking about just 3 or 4 days. So build into those 3 or 4 days a couple of different assessments each day, okay? Maybe at the beginning of class, the middle of class, the end of class, formal and informal. What are the instructional strategies? What are the resources? Are you going to show video clip? Are you going to play music? Be creative with that, okay? They like that kind of stuff. Anything you create, materials, reading, handouts, all that kind of stuff, a lot of that stuff you'll be submitting as part of EdTPA. You'll do this when you're student teaching, remember, so you'll get support at that time to kind of do all that uploading. Okay, again, the language task, we talked about that, language function. Okay, so task 2. Again, don't just jump right into doing this. Even for the practice for me that you're gonna do, review pages 18 through 21 in your handbook. Review the section on making good choices, 23 through 32 in your making good choices resource for task 2. Do that before you make your practice videos, please. The rubrics 6 through 10 are the ones that assess task 2. So that's what you want to try to unpack and really think about how is it that you're going to get the scores that you would like to get. Remember, you want to get 3s and 4s. All right, couple of things about task 2. Look how good you look on screen. You are all so beautiful, and it just shines right through. So be sure to check your battery and your space on your video recording equipment. Remember, this is your responsibility. So whether it's a phone, have a little tripod that it can sit in so it catches you well. Don't be trying to balance it on all these books and stuff because it may fall in the middle of it and you'll be screwed. Do a practice video, right? Do it from home or do it wherever. See yourself first. You can transcribe the inaudible parts and add them to the video with captions, which is a really great thing to know that you can do that. You don't need fancy software. Remember, one of the things that's the rule here is you can't edit together chunks of yourself from the 3 days. There needs to be a 10-minute segment that you're taking, and that 10-minute segment is what you have to make sure that there's no interruption. It's just when you're rocking and rolling. So within that 10-minute segment, that's where you really want to have yourself doing a little bit of direct instruction, some great student activity, engaging in the work, and you interacting with them and pushing them and supporting them and helping them go further. Okay, and that's in that clip. So you want to kind of be mindful about what are you recording. The recommendation is that you record everything, and then you go back and look and you find those pieces that you think works the best. I'm not really sure about that, but I think what you'll want to do is when you get to student teaching, work with Josh and work with Diana about how to sort of select that part that you use for the video. Okay, videotape all the classes, that's what it says. With regards to including the students, you don't want to like be focused on them. You want the focus to be on you, but you want to sort of capture enough of the space so that when students are talking and interacting with you, you can sort of see them kind of peripherally, even though the camera focus is on you. That way, the students are sort of seen, but they're not the center of attention. In part, this is about protecting students' identity, but mostly it should be about the chance that it can see you interacting with them and them responding, laughing, and whatever it is that's happening. Again, use the kids' names. And I think the better you do in planning for your time here and teaching, I think you'll be in good shape. So here's where I talk about playing the game. You can read through these on your own. Elicit and build on student response. I want to speak to that one. Uptake is key. If a student says something like, oh, this reminds me of this, use that. Oh, that is like this because boom, boom, boom. Or if a student asks a question, when you respond to that question, try to connect it to something another student has asked or another student has said. Or if a student brings up a question, keep coming back to that question. I've tried to do that in class with you guys, and I've tried to model that. And I hope that you've seen it. But really think about how you can create a context in which it feels like a discussion and a back and forth and not just you talking at them. Show that you know your stuff, right? Push your students to excel, show your high expectations, show your content knowledge, all that good stuff. You can do this. Okay, this is another clip video of tips for EdTPA. I'm going to try to clip on it here and see if that works. Okay. So EdTPA video task 2, 5 tips from EdTPA the easy way. I'll try to add that to the Blackboard discussion. Okay, let me close this out. Back to our screens. I don't need that. Oh my goodness, everything is open on my computer. I'm sorry. Okay. Lord Almighty. Okay. Okay. Next slide. When you do the narrative for EdTPA Task 2, this is 6 pages. Remember, the last one was 9 pages, right? Single spaced. Be sure to include the prompts in it, all right? What you'll do is you'll have timestamps. So your video recording, you're gonna basically keep referring back in your narrative to what's in the video. And I gave an example of there, okay? All right. I don't really understand. Let me see what this says. Okay, so again, go back to your resources, go back to the materials from my class and from your other classes, your methods class, and try to get a sense of that. Again, a couple things. Have your big teacher voice, okay? Big energy. Talk to the back of the room. Some of you are very soft-spoken. This is not the time to be, okay? You wanna come across as competent. You wanna come across as excited to be there, okay? And if you don't have those things, then fake it until you make it. Okay, so let me stop the share. So that was the next video. Hopefully this is helpful, and I will post this on Blackboard along with the other links.